My teenage son vanished after a fight at our family BBQ. The last burger on the grill. Good luck to you, wherever you are tonight. And if this story moves you, if it reminds you to hold your loved ones a little closer, to check the locks twice, to never assume the worst can't happen at the best of times, then you've already given this story the ending it deserves. Be on this channel, subscribe, because the stories that matter are the ones that stay with you long after the fire burns out. Chapter 1: The Smoke. The smoke from the Weber kettle grill rose in lazy spirals against the burnt orange Texas sky, and I remember thinking, right before everything went to hell, that it was the most perfect Memorial Day weekend I'd ever seen. My name is Jack Brennan. I'm 47 years old, a civil engineer from Round Rock, just north of Austin. I've designed bridges that span the Colorado River, overpasses that carry 18-wheelers past the suburban sprawl creeping ever outward from the capital city. I understand load-bearing structures, stress fractures, the mathematics of collapse. What I don't understand, what I will never understand, not if I live to be 100, is how a family can bear a weight it was never engineered to hold. The house on Bluebonnet Lane was supposed to be our forever home. Sarah and I bought it in 2015, back when the Austin real estate market was merely expensive, not outright predatory. It's a modest ranch style, 3 bedrooms, a backyard big enough for a pool we never got around to installing, and a covered patio where I was standing that Saturday afternoon, tongs in hand, watching the burgers sizzle. "Jack, you burning those?" Sarah called from the kitchen window, her voice carrying that particular note of amused exasperation that 23 years of marriage had refined into an art form. "Maillard reaction, honey. It's science." "Science smells like charcoal." I laughed, but the laugh died in my throat when I saw my son. Tyler was 16 and 6'1". All elbows and angles, and that impossible metabolism that let him eat 3 of my burgers and still ask for dessert. He had my dark hair, Sarah's green eyes, and a temper that came from God knows where, certainly not from either of us. We'd fought about that temper, fought about his grades, his friends, the motorcycle he wanted, the college he didn't want to think about. But we'd never fought like we fought that afternoon. He was standing at the edge of the patio, phone in hand, shoulders hunched in that posture every parent of a teenager recognizes. The defensive crouch, the emotional armor clicked into place. "Ty, come grab a plate. Burgers are up." "Not hungry." "Tyler, it's a family BBQ. Your cousins are here from Dallas. Your grandmother flew in from Tampa. Come eat." He didn't move, didn't look at me. His thumb scrolled, endless, mindless, the digital pacifier that had become his constant companion. "Put the phone down." "Nothing." "Tyler James Brennan, put the phone down." He looked up then, and the expression on his face. God help me, I'll see that look until the day I die. It wasn't anger. It wasn't rebellion. It was something worse. It was disappointment. In me. In us. In this whole carefully constructed life we'd built on Bluebonnet Lane. "You don't get to tell me what to do anymore," he said, and his voice was flat, controlled, the voice of someone who had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in his head. "Excuse me? You heard me. I'm done. I'm done with your rules, your lectures, your family time. You want to know what I was looking at? Messages from Dad, my real dad." The tongs slipped from my fingers, clattered against the grill. The burgers hissed, protested, began to burn. "Your real Tyler, I'm your father. I've been your father since you were 2 years old, since Since my real dad went to prison? Yeah, I know. I finally know. Mom told me the truth. Or rather, I found the truth because neither of you were ever going to tell me. Sarah appeared in the doorway then, dish towel in hand, face pale as the limestone cliffs along the Pedernales River. Tyler, we were going to. When? When I was 30? When you were dead? I found the adoption papers, Mom, in your filing cabinet, the one with the broken lock, sealed by court order. Except they weren't sealed, were they? They were just hidden, like me. The cousins from Dallas had gone quiet. Grandma Brennan, 83 and sharp as a hawk, set down her sweet tea with a trembling hand. The Memorial Day playlist I'd spent an hour curating, Springsteen, Petty, some newer stuff Ty had added, suddenly seemed grotesquely inappropriate, like music at a funeral. Inside, I managed, now all of us. No, Tyler, I said no. He threw the phone. Not at me. I'm not sure I could have forgiven that. But past me, into the grill, where it hit the hot coals with a sound like a gunshot and a smell like burning plastic. Then he was moving, long legs carrying him across the patio, through the gate, into the alley that ran behind our block of Bluebonnet Lane. Tyler! I went after him. Of course I did. I'm his father. That's what fathers do. But Tyler was fast, faster than me, fueled by 16 years of whatever he'd been holding back, whatever poison had finally burst its dam. By the time I reached the alley, he was already at the corner, turning onto Pecan Street. And then, gone, not metaphorically gone, not gone from my life in some poetic sense, actually, physically, impossibly gone. I stood at the corner of Bluebonnet and Pecan, chest heaving, Memorial Day sun beating down on my neck, and I screamed his name until my throat bled raw. Nothing. No answer. No Tyler. No teenage boy in a Nirvana t-shirt and ripped jeans. No flash of dark hair. No sound of sneakers on hot asphalt. Just the hum of Austin traffic in the distance, the buzz of cicadas in the live oaks, and the beginning of the longest 3 hours of my life. Though, Chapter 2. The first hour. I didn't panic immediately. That came later. First, I walked. I walked every block of our neighborhood, the tidy grid of post-war ranch homes, the newer infill developments with their modern farmhouse aesthetics, the pocket park where Tyler used to play basketball with the Martinez kid from 3 doors down. I called his name. I checked his usual haunts, the 7-Eleven on Gaddis School Road, the skate park behind the old HEB, the creek bed where he and his friends used to build forts from fallen branches. Nothing. At the 45-minute mark, I called Sarah. She was already on the phone with the Round Rock Police Department, her voice tight with that particular terror that lives in the space between teenager being a teenager and something is very, very wrong. Jack? They won't take a missing person report for 24 hours. They say he's 16, he left voluntarily. He's probably at a friend's house. That's bullshit. He was angry. He was upset. He didn't take his phone. I know, but that's the policy. I drove then. Drove the grid of streets between our house and downtown Austin, the I-35 corridor, the toll roads that sliced through the hill country like surgical scars. I checked Whataburger and Target and the Barnes and Noble where he liked to browse the graphic novels. I checked the bus station on East 7th, the Metro Rail stations, anywhere a 16-year-old with no money and no phone might try to go. Hour 2. The sun was lower now, the orange deepening to something almost violent, and I was no longer not panicking. I was full panicking. The kind of panic that makes your hands shake on the steering wheel, that makes you run red lights and not care, that makes you pray to a God you haven't spoken to in years. I called everyone. Tyler's friends, Derek from the soccer team, Marcus who'd moved to Pflugerville, the Henderson kid whose name I could never remember. None of them had seen him. None of them had heard from him. The friends who answered sounded genuinely confused. The ones who didn't answer sent my imagination to dark places I didn't know it could go. Hour 2.5. I was back at Bluebonnet Lane, where the Memorial Day BBQ had disintegrated into something out of a nightmare. Grandma Brennan was on the porch, rosary in hand, praying in a voice that broke my heart. The Dallas cousins were loading their car, faces drawn, helpless. Sarah was on the phone again, this time with a private investigator she'd found through a Facebook group, someone who specialized in runaway teens, which I didn't know was a specialty until I needed one to be. Jack. She grabbed my arm as I came through the gate. Jack, the PI says we need to check his computer, his social media, anything that might tell us where he'd go. We went to his room, Tyler's sanctuary, his fortress of solitude, decorated in the aesthetic of teenage boy everywhere, concert posters, LED strip lights, a desk buried under energy drink cans, and sketchbooks filled with drawings I never knew he could make. Beautiful, dark, intricate things. Monsters and angels and faces that looked like they were screaming. His laptop was open, password protected, but Sarah knew the password. She'd put parental controls on it 2 years ago, back when we were still naive enough to think we could protect him from the internet. What we found opened a door I didn't know existed. Chapter 3: The Digital Ghost. Tyler's browser history was a map of a country I'd never visited. Forums for adopted teens searching for birth parents. Facebook groups with names like Closed Adoption, Open Wounds. Reddit threads about Texas adoption records, about how to unseal court documents, about the legal rights of adoptees to know their origins. And messages, dozens of messages, going back 6 months with someone named M. Carver. Monsieur Carver claimed to be a family reunification specialist based in Houston. The messages started innocuously enough. Offers to help Tyler find his birth father. References to resources and connections and closure. But they escalated. I read them with a growing sickness in my stomach, the kind of sickness that comes from watching a predator work in slow motion. May 3rd. Your birth father wants to meet you, Tyler. He's been looking for you since the day you were taken from him. He has so much to tell you. May 10th. I can arrange everything. A car will pick you up. You don't need to tell anyone. They'll never understand. May 15th. Memorial Day weekend. Everyone will be distracted. It's the perfect time. Just say the word. May 20th. Your father is waiting. He's not the man they told you about. He's successful now. He has a house in Galveston, a boat. He wants to give you everything they never could. And finally, the message that stopped my heart. May 25th. When you run, don't look back. Don't let them guilt you. Family is who chooses you, not who raised you. I'll be waiting at the corner of Pecan and Bluebonnet. Black Tahoe, Texas plates. Don't be afraid. I read it 3 times. 4. The words didn't change. The meaning didn't soften. Sarah. My voice was a stranger's. Sarah, call the police. Now. Tell them everything. Tell them. But I was already moving, already out the door, already in my truck with the engine roaring and the GPS set for Galveston, 215 miles of I-35 and I-10 between me and whatever waited at the end of this road. Chapter 4. The Highway. I drove through the night. Austin to Houston is normally a 3-hour haul, but I made it in 2 and change, pushing 80, 90, the speedometer needle climbing into territories where a single deer, a single blown tire, would have ended everything. I didn't care. The only thing that mattered was the image in my head. Tyler, confused, angry, walking toward a black Tahoe with tinted windows, believing he was finally going to meet the man who'd made him. Except the man who'd made him was in prison, had been since 2008. Armed robbery, aggravated assault, a sentence that kept him locked up in the Polunsky unit until 2024. I'd followed his case, kept tabs, not because I was jealous or threatened, but because I was a father, and fathers protect their children, even from ghosts. The ghost's name was Daryl Carver, and M. Carver, the family reunification specialist who'd been grooming my son for 6 months, was, I was certain, related. Sister, cousin, someone who shared Daryl's DNA and his capacity for manipulation. I hit Houston at 11:47 p.m., the skyline rising like a promise or a threat against the Gulf humidity. Galveston was another hour south, across the causeway that spanned Galveston Bay, the water black and still beneath a moon that seemed too bright, too watchful. I found the address from Monsieur Carver's Facebook profile. A weathered beach house on the west end of the island, far from the tourist traps and the historic district. The kind of place where people go when they don't want to be found. The black Tahoe was in the driveway. Texas plates. Just like the message said. I didn't call the police. I've thought about that decision 1,000 times since, replayed it, questioned it, tortured myself with it. But in the moment, with my son potentially inside, potentially in danger, I couldn't wait for the Galveston County Sheriff's Department to assemble a response team. I couldn't wait for negotiators and tactical units and the slow machinery of law enforcement. I went in through the back door. It was unlocked. That should have been my first warning. Chapter 5. The House. The house smelled of salt and mildew and something else. Something chemical, sharp, wrong. The back door opened into a kitchen where the counters were bare, the sink dry, the refrigerator humming with nothing inside. A beach house in name only. No one lived here, no one vacationed here. This was a staging ground, a trap. Tyler! My voice echoed off the cheap paneling. No answer. I moved through the dark, phone in hand, flashlight app casting a thin beam across empty rooms. A living room with a stained couch and a TV that hadn't been plugged in. A bathroom with a rusted shower and a mirror cracked down the middle. And a hallway leading to a closed door with light seeping from beneath it. I kicked it open. I'm not proud of that, but I'm not sorry either. The room was empty. Empty except for a chair, and on the chair, a phone. Tyler's phone. The one he'd thrown into the grill. But that was impossible. I'd seen it burn. I'd smelled the plastic melting. Except I hadn't. I'd seen him throw something, heard it hit the coals, but I'd been angry, distracted, already moving toward the gate. He'd palmed his real phone, thrown a decoy, an old burner maybe, something he'd prepared for exactly this moment. The phone on the chair was ringing. I answered. I shouldn't have, but I did. Jack Brennan. The voice was female, smooth, almost soothing. You made good time. I'm impressed. Where's my son? Safe. For now. Safer than he's been in that house of lies you built for him. Who are you? Miriam Carver, Daryl's sister, Tyler's aunt, if you want to get technical about bloodlines. And I want to get very technical, Jack, because blood is all that matters. You can play house for 16 years, but you can't change what's in his veins. Give me my son. Your son? She laughed, a sound like broken glass in a blender. He's not your son. He's Daryl's, and Daryl wants him back. Daryl's in prison, or he was. He's free since March, living in Houston, working as a mechanic, would you believe? The system rehabilitates, Jack. That's what they tell us. And Daryl's been rehabilitated right into the fatherhood he was denied. My knees buckled. I caught myself on the door frame, the cheap wood splintering against my palm. You're lying. Am I? Check the dates on those messages. Daryl wrote them. I just delivered them. He's been planning this since the day he got out. Planning to find the boy you stole. I didn't steal him. Sarah and I adopted him legally. Daryl terminated his rights. He signed the papers. He was in prison. He couldn't. He was coerced. He was young. He was scared. And he spent 16 years regretting it. 16 years dreaming of the son who was taken from him. 16 years planning how to get him back. I wanted to scream, wanted to rage, wanted to tear the house apart with my bare hands until I found Tyler hiding in some closet, some crawl space, some place where this nightmare couldn't reach him. But I didn't. Because somewhere, beneath the fear and the fury, a cold rationality was asserting itself. Miriam Carver was talking too much, enjoying this too much. And people who enjoy themselves too much make mistakes. Where's Daryl now? I asked, keeping my voice steady, controlled, the voice of a man who still had cards to play. Close. Closer than you think. He's with Tyler right now, actually. They're getting to know each other. Father and son, the way it was always meant to be. You're lying. Am I? Then why are you still in that house, Jack? Why aren't you driving back to Round Rock, checking on your wife, making sure she's okay? Poor Sarah, she's been through so much. It would be a shame if something else happened to her. On Memorial Day weekend, when everyone's so distracted. The line went dead, and I ran. Dear, Chapter 6, The Fire. I made it back to Round Rock in 2 hours and 40 minutes, which I still don't understand. I should have been arrested, should have been dead. The highway was a blur of red taillights and white road paint, and the desperate animal certainty that I was already too late. The house on Bluebonnet Lane was burning. I saw it from 3 blocks away, the orange glow against the Texas night, the smoke rising in spirals that mirrored the afternoon's barbecue, but carried none of its warmth. Fire trucks screamed past me, lights strobing, radios crackling with codes I didn't understand. I abandoned the truck in the middle of the street, ran the last 2 blocks, pushed through a crowd of neighbors in pajamas and robes, faces lit by the flames consuming my forever home. Sarah was on the lawn, wrapped in a blanket, an EMT checking her vitals. She was alive. She was alive. That was all that mattered. Tyler? I gasped, falling to my knees beside her. She shook her head. Tears cut clean tracks through the soot on her face. I don't know. I don't know, Jack. Someone broke in. While I was on the phone with the police, they grabbed me, tied me up. I heard them in Tyler's room. Then smoke. Then, where's Grandma? With the Hendersons. She's okay. Jack, they were looking for something. In Tyler's room, they tore it apart. The fire was contained now, the Round Rock Fire Department efficient and professional. But the damage was done. The back of the house, where Tyler's room stood, was a blackened skeleton. Whatever they'd been looking for, whatever they'd found or not found, they'd made sure no one else would find it. I held Sarah and watched our life burn, and I understood finally what this was about. It wasn't about Tyler's anger. It wasn't about Daryl's revenge. It was about something in that room. Something Tyler had found, or hidden, or been given. Something worth burning a house down to protect, or to destroy. Chapter 7: The Truth. We stayed with the Hendersons that night. Grandma Brennan slept in their guest room, snoring softly, seemingly unfazed by the apocalypse. Sarah took a sedative and drifted into a sleep that looked more like unconsciousness. And I sat on the Hendersons' porch, watching the sun rise over the smoke-stained ruins of Bluebonnet Lane, and I thought about everything I knew. Tyler had found his adoption papers, had learned about Daryl, had been contacted by Miriam, groomed by Daryl, convinced to run on Memorial Day. But why then? Why that specific moment? Why throw the phone, stage the argument, vanish so completely? Because he'd been planning it too, not just Miriam, Tyler, my son. The boy who'd been researching adoption records, joining support groups, preparing for this moment for months. He'd wanted to find his birth father, had been determined to, and he'd used our fight, the fight he'd orchestrated, as cover for his escape. But something had gone wrong. The black Tahoe on Pecan Street, the meeting that was supposed to be a reunion. And then, what? Daryl hadn't taken him to Galveston. Miriam had lied about that, or told a half-truth, or been as much in the dark as I was. The phone in Tyler's room, the one in the burning house. What had been on it? I called the Round Rock Police Department at 6 a.m., spoke to a detective named Marquez, who'd been assigned to the arson investigation, told her everything. The messages, the carvers, the phone in the beach house, the threats against Sarah. She listened, took notes, told me they'd already picked up Daryl Carver in Houston, pulled him in on a parole violation. He'd been in a bar fight in Montrose, spent the night in a Harris County cell. He had an alibi for the Round Rock fire, a solid one. Miriam was gone. The beach house was a rental, paid in cash, no forwarding address. The black Tahoe was stolen, found abandoned in a Walmart parking lot in San Marcos. And Tyler was still missing. But Detective Marquez had something. A security camera from the Valero on the corner of Pecan and Bluebonnet. Grainy, low-res, but clear enough. The black Tahoe pulling up at 4:17 p.m. Tyler approaching from the alley, getting in, the Tahoe driving away. And then, 17 minutes later, the same Tahoe pulling into the same Valero. Tyler getting out, walking to the convenience store, buying a Gatorade and a bag of chips, walking back to the Tahoe. And then, the moment that made Detective Marquez's voice go strange, the Tahoe driving away without Tyler. He'd been left at the Valero, abandoned. And then another camera, the McDonald's across the street. Tyler sitting on the curb, drinking his Gatorade, looking at his phone. A car pulling up, a silver sedan, Texas plates. Tyler getting in, willingly, no force, no struggle, and then nothing. The silver sedan vanished into the Memorial Day traffic, untraceable, unidentifiable, a ghost car carrying my son toward a destination I couldn't imagine. Chapter 8: The Search. We searched for 3 months. The Round Rock Police Department opened a full investigation. The FBI got involved when the car was traced to a rental agency in Dallas, rented with a stolen credit card. Private investigators, volunteer search teams, Facebook groups, Reddit threads, true crime podcasts that turned my son's disappearance into content for strangers to consume over their morning coffee. I learned things about my country I didn't want to know. How many teenagers vanish every year in America? How many are never found? How the system is overwhelmed, underfunded, broken in ways that have nothing to do with individual failures and everything to do with a society that doesn't value its children enough to protect them. I learned things about myself I didn't want to know. How far I would go, what lines I would cross, what laws I would break. I tracked down Miriam Carver in New Orleans, living under a false name, working as a tarot reader in the French Quarter. I didn't hurt her, though I wanted to. I just needed her to tell me what she knew. She knew less than I did. Daryl had been using her too. The messages, the plan, the promise of a family reunion, all of it was cover for something else. Something Daryl wouldn't tell her. Something worth more to him than his son. Money, Miriam said. Her tarot cards scattered across a table in a bar that smelled like spilled beer and regret. Daryl owed money to people in Houston, bad people. He was going to use the boy as leverage or collateral or, I don't know. He wouldn't tell me. He just said it was his only way out. And Tyler? What happened to Tyler? She shrugged, the cards falling from her fingers. The boy got in the wrong car. That's all I know. Daryl was furious. He went to Round Rock to find him, but the house was already burning. He didn't do that, Mr. Brennan. He was angry, but he wasn't stupid. Someone else burned your house. Someone who wanted whatever Tyler had. Had what? But Miriam didn't know, or wouldn't say. And I left New Orleans with nothing but more questions and a deepening certainty that my son had stumbled into something far larger than a family reunion gone wrong. Chapter 9. The Clue. We found it in December, in the ruins of Tyler's room, which we'd been too devastated to search properly until the insurance company demanded an inventory for the claim. Sarah found it. A floorboard, loosened by the fire's heat, revealing a space beneath. And in that space, a hard drive. Charred but intact enough for a data recovery specialist in Austin to work miracles. The hard drive contained videos, dozens of them. Tyler sitting in his room talking to the camera, a video diary, a record of his last months, his plans, his fears, his hopes. And one video, dated May 25th, the day before the BBQ, that changed everything. Tyler looking directly into the lens, his green eyes, Sarah's eyes, bright with a determination that broke my heart. Okay, if you're watching this, something went wrong, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the fight, for the lies, for all of it. But I had to do this. I had to find him. Not Daryl, he's nothing to me. But the other one, the one who really matters. He took a breath, reached off camera, came back with a photograph. This is my birth mother. Her name was Elena Voss. She died when I was 2. Overdose. That's what they told me. But I don't believe it. I think she was killed. And I think Daryl knows who did it. And I think that person has been paying him to keep quiet for 16 years. The photograph showed a young woman, blonde and beautiful, with Tyler's eyes and a smile that looked like it knew secrets. Elena Voss. A name I'd never heard. Sarah had never mentioned her. The adoption papers had listed the mother as unknown, deceased. 6 months ago, I got a message, anonymous. It said, "Your mother didn't die. She was silenced. Daryl Carver knows the truth. Find him, and you'll find her." I thought it was a scam, but then I found the payments. Money going into Daryl's prison account every month from a shell company in Delaware. And I traced that company. It leads to someone powerful, someone who doesn't want the truth to come out. Tyler leaned closer to the camera, his voice dropping to a whisper. His name is Senator Clayton Webb, Texas State Senator. He was Elena's boyfriend back before I was born, before Daryl, and I think he's my father, my real father. And I think he killed Elena to keep it quiet. And I think he's been paying Daryl to take the fall, to disappear, to let everyone think I'm Daryl's son. He paused, tears in his eyes, the first I'd ever seen him cry on camera. Tomorrow, I'm going to meet Daryl. I'm going to get him to talk, to admit everything. And then I'm going to find Senator Webb. I'm going to make him tell me what happened to my mother, even if it kills me. The video ended, black screen, silence, and then a postscript. Added later, in a different recording, Tyler's face more drawn, more desperate. Update. Daryl didn't show. The Tahoe was empty. But someone else was there. Someone who knew about the plan. They said they could take me to Webb, said Webb wanted to meet me, to explain. I don't know if I should trust them, but I have to try. If you're watching this, Dad, Jack, I know you hate me right now, but I had to know. I had to know where I came from. I love you. I love Mom. But I need to know the truth. The screen went black again and stayed black. It's Chapter 10, The Senator. Senator Clayton Webb. I'd voted for him twice. A moderate Democrat in a red state, a champion of education reform and criminal justice, a man who presented himself as the future of Texas politics. His face was on billboards, in commercials, in the background of every political event in the state. And according to my son, he was a murderer. I didn't go to the police with the video, not immediately, because I didn't know who to trust. If Webb was powerful enough to pay off Daryl Carver for 16 years, powerful enough to burn down my house, powerful enough to make my son disappear, then he was powerful enough to have friends in law enforcement. Friends who could make evidence disappear, cases go cold, witnesses change their stories. Instead, I went to the press, to a reporter at the Austin American-Statesman named Denise Okonkwo, who'd built a career on exposing corruption in Texas politics. I gave her the video, the hard drive, the whole story. She published on January 15th, front page, above the fold. Senator Webb denied everything, called it a conspiracy theory, a political hit job, the desperate fantasy of a grieving father. He held a press conference in the rotunda of the Texas state capitol, all marble and grandeur and righteous indignation. And he looked directly into the cameras and said he'd never met Elena Voss, never fathered a child, never paid anyone anything. The denial lasted 3 days. On day 4, a woman came forward. Maria Santos, former housekeeper for Webb's Austin condo. She had photographs of Webb and Elena Voss together in 2007. Photographs of Elena, pregnant. Photographs of envelopes of cash delivered monthly to a P.O. box in Houston. On day 5, Daryl Carver, facing new charges and the prospect of returning to prison, agreed to talk. He confirmed everything, the payments, the cover-up, the night Elena died, not of an overdose, but of a confrontation with Webb, who'd pushed her down a flight of stairs rather than let her expose their affair and his paternity. On day 6, Tyler's DNA test results, filed by Sarah months ago, part of a desperate attempt to find him through genetic databases, came back. a 99.9% match with Clayton Webb. On day 7, Senator Webb was arrested. Not for murder, the statute of limitations had expired and the evidence was circumstantial at best, but for fraud, for campaign finance violations, for the network of shell companies that had funneled money to Daryl Carver and investigators discovered to a dozen other fixers across the state. And on day 8, I got a phone call. Chapter 11, The Call. The number was blocked. The voice was distorted, run through some kind of modulator, genderless and mechanical. Mr. Brennan, we have your son. I was in a hotel room in Austin, paid for by the newspaper, surrounded by reporters and lawyers, and the chaos of a story that had grown far beyond my control. I waved them silent, put the call on speaker, hit record. Who is this? That doesn't matter. What matters is that Tyler is safe. He has been safe since May. Safer than he would have been with you, with the Carvers, with the Senator's people. Where is he? I want to talk to him. In time. First, you need to understand. Tyler came to us. We didn't take him. He got in the silver sedan willingly because he knew we could protect him. From Daryl, from Webb, from everyone who wanted to use him as a pawn in their game. Who are you? A group of people who believe in truth, who believe that the powerful shouldn't be allowed to bury their secrets. Tyler found us, Mr. Brennan. Through his research, his forums, his desperate searching, he found people who understood what he was going through, people who could help. Help him disappear, help me lose my son, help him survive. Webb's people were watching him, had been for months. They knew about his plan to meet Daryl. They were going to intercept him, take him, make him disappear in a much more permanent way. We got there first. I wanted to believe, wanted to so badly it felt like a physical need, like air or water. But I'd been burned too many times. By Miriam, by Daryl, by my own hope. Prove it. Let me talk to him, now. A pause, static. Then, a voice I knew better than my own. Dad? Tyler! I was crying, didn't care who saw. Tyler, where are you? Are you okay? I'm okay. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dad. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I just wanted to know about her, about me. And then everything got so big, so fast, and I didn't know how to come back. Come back now. Whatever you did, whatever you found, we can fix it. I can't. Not yet. There's more. About Webb, about others, people who helped him, who covered for him, who are still covering. We have to finish this. I have to finish this. For Mom, for Elena, for all of us. Tyler, please. I love you, Dad. I love Mom. I love Grandma. Tell her I'm sorry I missed her BBQ and tell her I'll be home soon. I promise. The line went dead, and this time it stayed dead. Epilogue. The Waiting. That was 6 months ago. Senator Webb was convicted on 14 counts of fraud and corruption. He's serving 15 years in federal prison, his political career in ruins, his legacy defined by the son he tried to erase. Daryl Carver took a plea deal, testified against Webb, and is in a witness protection program somewhere in the Midwest. Miriam Carver was arrested in New Orleans, charged as an accessory, and is awaiting trial. The house on Bluebonnet Lane was rebuilt. We moved back in last month. Sarah planted new flowers in the garden. Grandma Brennan, at 84, still sits on the porch with her rosary, but now she prays for Tyler's return, not his safety. And me? I wait. I work. I design bridges that span rivers and carry people home. And I wait for the phone to ring again, because Tyler is still out there, somewhere, fighting for a truth that matters more than his own safety. And I am proud of him, and terrified for him, and angry at him, and I love him more than I have words to express. I don't know when he'll come home, if he'll come home, but I know this: he was never really lost. He was never really taken. He made a choice, a hard and desperate and brave choice, to find the truth about where he came from. And in doing so, he found something about who he is. He's my son. He'll always be my son. Not because of adoption papers or legal definitions or the 16 years I raised him, but because love is a choice we make every day, and I choose him. I choose him still. I will choose him until the day I die. The grill is on the patio again. A new Weber, charcoal, the same model as before. I stand there sometimes, tongs in hand, watching the smoke rise in spirals against the Texas sky, and I remember that perfect Memorial Day afternoon. The fight, the fire, the journey that took me to the edge of everything I believed about family, about truth, about what it means to be a father. And I wait for the back gate to open, for long legs to carry a young man across the patio, for green eyes to meet mine, and for the words I've been practicing for a year. Welcome home, son. Burgers are up. The closing note. Good luck to you, wherever you are tonight. If you're a parent, go hug your child. If you're a child, call your parent. If you're somewhere in between, lost and searching and trying to find your way home, keep going. The truth is worth finding, even when it burns everything you thought you knew. Be on this channel. Subscribe. Because the stories that matter are the ones that remind us what we're capable of, both the darkness and the light. And because somewhere out there, there's a family waiting for their son to come home, and a son fighting to make that possible. This is the American Story Channel, and this is Jack Brennan, signing off. Good luck, and come home soon. The end.